Hey, everybody, welcome. We are so thrilled that you have chosen to join us today for this special celebration of Jessica Lindl and her new book, The Career Game Loop. If you happen to have it with you, we would love to see your book in the screen. And for those of you who are off camera, of course, you're welcome to come on camera. We would request that everyone stay muted throughout today's event so that we can maintain the audio quality of our session. However, we will have some time for you to talk to Jessica later on in today's session. And at that point, of course, we will welcome you to unmute your microphone so you can speak to Jessica directly. Jessica, hello, congratulations.
Thanks, Becky. So excited to see everybody here. So many familiar and new faces.
And
Love
we
it.
have we have lots of folks still coming in. So we would welcome you throughout today's event, by the way, to use the chat as a great place to connect and community. And the chat will also serve as like a virtual guest book for today's event. So if you would like to go ahead and type in your congratulations to Jessica or type in any questions or type in any well wishes, she'll have a chance to read all of your comments later and look back on them, as today is the only first day of a book launch for you in the world, Jessica. Your first book, the first day, and there will be never be another day just like this one. And we're so thrilled for you and celebrating with you. So as we get started today, one of the things we want to do is take a quick moment to get to know what brought you here today. I'm going to play a poll. It's going to be on your screen, and we'd love to know, why are you joining us today? Is it because you just love a good party on a Tuesday morning? Is it because you're a super fan of Jessica and or Unity? Is it because you want to learn more about the Career Game Loop? Is it because you want to help get the word out about Jessica's new book? Or if there's some other reason, you could go ahead and put that reason why you showed up today in the chat. We would love to hear from you. And in just a few moments, I will share these results with everyone. And I always love to see a poll like this. It's a day of a lot of super fans of Jessica. Like, how could you not be a super fan of Jessica and Unity, of course? So thanks to those of you who have taken the time to take the poll. I will show you those results right now. It looks like nearly 70% of you are super fans of Jessica and Unity. About half of you are wanting to learn more about the Career Game Loop. At least a third of you are ready to help us get the word out about the book. And we've got some party people here. So I love that. All right, so as we get started, one of the things we want to do is get a glimpse into your author journey, Jessica. So I'm wondering if you could share with us a little bit about what it's been like for you as a first-time author.
Yeah, thanks, Becky. I'm like so emotional to see all these faces. It's amazing. Including everyone who I think the key point is we really wrote this book as a collective. I would love to just shout out the incredible team, Anuja, Aurora, even people who were not with Unity before. I see Laura Palmer, who hasn't been with us for a couple of years. So it is like an incredible. Kevin is here. I'm sure Rachel's on somewhere. Ellen. The key is we really approach this as writing as a collective. We didn't feel like we could do it justice sitting in a room alone. Also, as many of you know, because we get the privilege, the huge privilege of working closely with you, we're sort of swimming in this. It was really hard to like take a step back out of the trees and get into the forest, and really kind of understand the dynamic. So thanks to all of you, program partners, Unity creators. We wrote it with over 50 video games as well, just to make the book really fun and engaging. So I would say it was a incredibly uplifting experience, a really challenging experience. Those of you who don't know Becky and Wendy on this call, they were also partners in crime and Alyssa around how to bring this book to the market, which was almost more work than writing the book itself. But I did want to highlight one person in this question. I wanted to give a shout out to Sam DeStasso. Those of you who may not know him, one of the key things that we tried to do is really make this book practical and actionable. Those of you who have read it can tell that like when you're getting that third step in the loop of how do you get the job, no one brings it to life better than Sam. So Sam, if you don't mind coming off mute and answering the same question around how was the journey like for you and participating in this?
Awesome. I was not expecting that. Jessica, thank you so much. This has been a very needed book. I think in many ways, I sort of wish that it had existed a while back. Currently oversee a team at Unity where we employ a lot of these same kind of practices where you break it down kind of bite-sized chunks and kind of apply gaming principles to achieve your goals. And then I also mentor a number of folks just at my alma mater at UCLA, and they're always asking me, "Hey, how do I make this pivot? How do I make this change? How can I be an entrepreneur? How can I kind of create these different initiatives?" And honestly, Jessica, when you and I first started talking about this, I just thought, wow, has the potential to be really, really interesting. And I read and engaged more and more, and now I'm just fully bought in. So it's been amazing. I'm applying it in the personal life, applying it on my professional life, and happy to give any examples there. But it's just great to see it come all the way here now after the many months of hard work. So just huge shout out again to thank you to you and your team for letting me contribute. It's been amazing.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam.
So, Jessica, I'd love to go back to the original why that, motivated you and the Unity team to do the book in the first place. So why did you and Unity decide to write this book?
Yeah, so for those of you who I don't know well, I've been at Unity with almost the same team for 8 years, which is really unbelievable. It's actually not what we talk about in the book. It's usually much shorter on average. We're each only spending about 4 years with any given employer right now in this economy. But we really saw the challenges firsthand. And in fact, it was the key reason I came to Unity, that all of us are sort of brought up in these family cultures and education systems of these very linear paths. And you're sort of, driven home this belief that all you have to do is work hard and maybe go to a great college and you'll live happily ever after. And I think we all know that nothing is further from the truth, that these careers today are really chaotic. And I don't even need to go into COVID and AI and all of those impacts. And so we just saw a huge amount of anxiety every single day. And it didn't matter the background you came from or the job that you were going for. It was just the prevalent theme was anxiety. And we saw this glimmer of hope at the same time continuously, which is wow, these young people who grew up gaming have this incredible innate ability to navigate this, and we don't exactly know why, but we're watching them just crush it. I mean, as most of you know, we upskill about a little over 1 million people every single year that are students and 500,000 adults. About half of those go into gaming, the other half don't and go off into totally different careers. And so the success and the data was kind of hard to argue with, but we couldn't really crack the nut on it. And so we spent a couple years, which is the research and the work we did in writing this book, trying to really unpack the mindset and behaviors that gamers put in place. And I don't think anybody does that better than Stacy, who I'm going to invite to come off of come off of mute and just talk a little bit more about what the journey was like for her, and featuring her through the book.
Yes. Yeah. So for me, the biggest impact that I had was really the reflection that I ended up doing on my own experiences. So looking back, Jessica, having the conversation with you, that whole thing was just such a powerful exercise. Like sometimes you get just so deep in living your life. You're in the thick of it, you're handling things day by day, and you're so close to everything that's happening and so focused on just what's right in front of you that you don't get a chance to kind of step back and look more broadly at things. And because of that, you're not seeing the bigger picture of all that you accomplished. And telling my story for this book, that forced me to take a step back and look at everything with that distance. And then when I did that, I saw my journey just in such a new light that I hadn't really ever looked at before. I used to be a little embarrassed that I had to go back later and get my high school diploma because I dropped out. And I don't have a college degree. And telling you my story and then seeing how you interpreted that and how you put it into words, that made me realize that not only did I kind of have a really interesting journey, but I accomplished a hell of a lot more than I had realized. So originally, participating for me was just, oh, I'll share my experience and hopefully that will help somebody along in their journey. And it also ended up just being this really impactful moment for me to reflect, helped me kind of see my own story and my progress and my journey, and just everything was a lot more clear. And I walked away a lot more proud of what I had done.
Thanks, Stacy. Stacy doesn't even know this, but not only did we just love her story so much, but Fast Company did as well. And there's a whole feature on her that is launched this morning from Fast
What?
Company. We'll get you that article. Congratulations.
Wow, okay.
I just put that in the chat, Stacy, if
Oh,
you want
great,
to check
great.
it out or if others want to.
Hot off the press.
Well, so Jessica, you've already, talked a little bit about this, but let's talk explicitly about who this book is for and who you most hope will read it.
Yeah, we really wrote the book for Gen Z. That was like squarely the age group we were trying to reach. That's kind of like 14 to 28-year-olds right now. And then for those of you who, haven't launched a book before, call me before you decide to. But you end up sort of launching the book for a few months before. And there, there's a whole YouTube series and all these other videos that you kind of like try and bring the story to life. And what's been amazing through all of the social and podcasts and talks that we've done over the last few months is that it's really resonated with all demographics, not just for demographics like me as a parent or a mentor or a coach, but actually for us individually, because we're all living in this really chaotic job market and constantly reinventing ourselves. But still very squarely written for Gen Z, short, motivating TikTok like sentences is how we tried to write it. And I'm just gonna do a massive shout out to Stephen Christian, who's gonna come off mute, who is actually still Gen Z-ish, and another massive plug for him. For those of you in New York City, he's actually pitching at the Apollo this weekend with everything he created. So, Stephen, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, yeah. So technically I'm a millennial, but I have Gen Z vibes going all through my body. But yeah, I'm literally at I don't know if people can see it, but I'm like at the Apollo right now and really just super excited to just like be a part of this project as well as just sort of following Jessica's work and always just being open to like helping out as much as I can. And I think to the point of this book and the involvement that I had to, help along the way, yeah, I think it speaks to just sort of the things that I felt should have existed already. And I was like really surprised that there, it felt like the wild, wild west with not a lot of direction. And so being able to just sort of help guide people along the way by virtue of being involved with this, it's really great. And so, yeah, no, like it's, everything has exceeded my expectations when I started to open up, Unity and get into games tools and, with all the medical school stuff that has some interesting way to like overlap with my experience with development and finding ways to like translate all that stuff across different industries. I think a lot of the stuff that like, in terms of, building a community and being able to communicate and show your projects and just like share your work and have that passion speak through. I get to see that firsthand, like on a regular basis, and because of that, I don't know, everything it feels like a roller coaster ride for me all the time, and I'm just always open and curious to see what it all like translates to. 'Cause it's all kind of exceeded my expectations at this point. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Stephen. Similar to Sam and Stacy, we just learned so much from you. Stephen, of course, he's gonna be too humble to brag, but for me, he taught me so much about as also a sort of student athlete, and a lot of you who are raising kids or are, sort of identified yourself as an athlete and had your whole identity wrapped up in that. When he got a couple of injuries and had to be in a wheelchair and sort of stumbled in college into seeing this poster looking for somebody to write a cartoon for a student newspaper, that sort of like feeling of failure and loss of identity and reinventing himself was just an incredible lesson for me. And now over a decade or about a decade later, he's got his medical degree, he's doing health tech with VR and AR, and that's what he's pitching at the Apollo of all places, which is so cool this weekend. So thanks for being such an inspiration.
An incredible story. So, Jessica, before we move on to the next part, I'm wondering for those who may not have had a chance to read the book yet, if you could take a moment to explain the core career loop, the 4 parts, because quite a few people answered the poll that they're really interested in learning more about the book. And I'd love to give them that context for those who haven't had a chance to read the book yet.
Yeah, so for those of you who are not in gaming, there is a concept called a game loop. And by the way, if you've ever played, any card game or board game, the same thing holds true, which is it's that circular, deeply engaging experience that you have. So if you're playing a game like Uno, it's where you're putting down the same color cards and the numbers on top of it. That simple concept is called a game loop. And when we tried to better understand what was the mindset and behavior that these gamers had really intuitively understood that they applied to their careers, we realized that the game loop is really similar to that 4-year journey that I mentioned on average, that each of us are sort of staying in and transitioning to new jobs. So we called it the career game loop. It's got 4 key parts, which is first and foremost, going on your quest. It's very similar to any of you who have played the video game Legends of Zelda, where you're just like pushed into this universe. You have no idea how you're supposed to play the game. There's not like a rule book. You kind of bump around and meet people and understand the context and the environment, but you feel pretty lost and you feel passionate and excited sometimes and totally lost and frustrated the other times. And that is really kind of the first phase in how you're trying to figure out what you want to do next and meeting people like, potential mentors who can help guide you and support you along the way, and also trying to combine passion and skills as you figure it out. Then the second phase, which is again, anybody who even knows the video games understands that you've got to level up for different levels within a video game. And you are learning the entire time of what you have to level up and achieve. And so that phase is really us trying to break down how do you learn how to learn for the rest of your life, not just a one and done when you're in school, but how do you have that be an innate part of how you approach the world in your career? The third one, which Sam really brought to life, as I mentioned in the beginning, is how do you get that holy grail of getting your job? And I love how Sam really taught us that it's like your hero's journey. I think Sam had like 74 rejections before he got his final job offer and started to really understand, wow, every rejection is like another data point in my hero's journey. And this is a quest that I'm on. And it's only going to be that much better for how more challenging it is. And so I think that frame really hit home. And then finally, all of you know Minecraft and all of these other kind of user-generated content, crafting type of video games. And the fourth and final phase is how you job craft into your next opportunity, either with the employer you're at, because you want to meet a certain problem that's happening, or into an entirely different industry. And you just start that quest loop all over again. And finally, at the soul of all of this is community. That is the key thing that gamers get better than anybody else, in my opinion. People think that, people who aren't in gaming often think of like some kid in the basement who's just alone all the time till 3 in the morning. It couldn't be more different. It's like their incredible deep community that they're hanging out with on Discord and Twitch, and they understand how to meet people from all over the world and learn from them. And that's exactly the skills that you want to apply in your career. Clearly, I'm
Amazing.
super passionate about this and can talk way too much.
No, I appreciate you sharing that with us, Jessica. So for a moment now, we want to let folks know, all the folks on the call, how you can get involved with fueling the momentum for this important message. So not only for those people in the Gen Z age group who are 14 to 28, but also those parents who might recommend the book or be mentors, but also for those of us at any stage in our career who can learn from these 4 steps in the game loop that Jessica just described. So the very best way that you can help support this launch today is to order the book, even if you already have a copy. For those of you who are not familiar with the book world, early momentum comes with things like bestseller lists, and we are hoping to land on a national bestseller list. And so your individual orders of the book today from any online retailer of the hardcover book will help to fuel that goal. And it's not a goal as an end in itself, but it's a goal to help us reach more people with this powerful content. So even if you've gotten a free copy of the book, if you could make an investment to buy a copy today to give away to someone who might benefit from the message, we would deeply appreciate your support with that. If you have already read and received the book, your review on Amazon and Goodreads is also another way to help fuel the discoverability of Jessica's book. So those reviews help to give social proof and credibility to the book. We'd like to get 100 reviews for the Career Game Loop within the first month. And your 2 or 3 sentence review telling what you found valuable will help others decide that this is the right book for them. Finally, if you have a social media platform, an email list, a podcast, we would welcome you to help to promote Jessica through those channels. And we have tried to make that as easy for you as we can. So there are some ready to use assets in the chat. If you click the link, you'll find graphics and social media posts. All you need to do is copy and paste those and share them. Or of course, it's always great to hold up your own book and take a photo as a means of sharing your network, showing your network how enthusiastic you are about the book. So we would also welcome any other ideas you have. Jessica's open for speaking and other opportunities, and would love to be able to share this message with your online communities. One last thing, careergameloop.com is Jessica's book website. And when you get there, you're going to find that there are lots of free bonus materials related to the book that can also help extend the learning. So we would invite you to go ahead and visit that website and get those downloads to help to fuel your learning from the Career Game Loop. All right, so Jessica, in a little bit, we are going to open up for folks who might want to ask questions or offer their congratulations. And we're going to do that really soon. So for those of you who are not as familiar with Zoom, what you're going to notice in the bottom of your Zoom panel is that there is a hand raise function. It's right next to the reactions. It looks like that. And when you raise your hand, I'll see that you would like to speak, and we'll call on you one at a time. We will ask that you keep your comments brief so more people have a chance to share. But first, I want to ask Jessica one more important question. Jessica, I'm wondering if you could tell us about your deepest hopes and goals for this book.
I think it's really simple, which is to move that feeling of anxiety to agency. That the people who read the book and the people who don't even read the book, but just look at the TikTok or YouTube shorts, have a moment where they feel empowered. And really that change in mindset and behavior, I think, is what is going to help our entire community move forward. And then a extended hope around all of that is all of you and everyone who reads this continue to build this work. I feel like it's really still, although there's a 250-page book out there that we've written, I think it's still really unclear and needs a lot of work and support. So please engage with us. As you can tell, it is a big tent in how we've approached writing this and putting this thinking together.
Thank you for that, Jessica. Really powerful intentions around what the book and its messages can do in people's lives. I did see a couple of questions come into the chat regarding, will there be a paperback and will there be an audiobook? Can you share about that?
Yes. Yeah. Wiley is the publisher. They have told us there will be a paperback coming out. There will also be an audiobook that should be coming out pretty soon. There is also a Kindle version, as Wendy said, which we just found out today was the #1 new release when we woke up already. So getting lots of momentum, which is great. So hopefully we've got it in all formats. And I think more importantly for us and the team who wrote it is that we get global distribution. My mother-in-law was on here from Cape Town. So I really want to get Cape Town lower than $800 in their currency, a hardcover copy. And Japan and Korea and China, where we've got a lot of our creators too.
Amazing. So we do have someone ready to speak. I'll call on you first. Yoon Jung.
Yeah,
Welcome.
yeah. Thank you, Jessica. Nice to see you again. And I see huge changes happening with the parents. Actually, parents changing. Parents has to support the student game loop journey, right? Instead of having this prejudice, game is addictive, bad, right? So in fact, we just launched the 3 middle school students unity team with a 1-year journey with a mentor. So we are very excited. So Jessica, you just mentioned that if you have a time, I know you're very busy, to have the parent talk. If we bring parents, would you mind considering coming and having a very honest conversation with the parents group?
Yeah, Yoon it's so great to see you. I would love to do that. I actually have a few parent friends on here, Nadia, Sapna, Kathy, who I'm constantly in conversation with around sort of the shift in mindset that we need to have, especially Yoon for you have an incredible program that's working a lot with parents and young people in middle schools and high schools who don't get this type of support and approach in the traditional schools that they're in. So I would love to work closely with you on how we can better message this out to parents. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We will put them together. We'll invite you with the Zoom.
Thank you. Thanks.
What a great opportunity to share this important message with parents. We are open for others who have questions or who might want to offer your congratulations to Jessica. So I'm going to be looking for those hands raised. Although if you cannot find the hand raised, you can go ahead and let me know in the chat and I'll be happy to call on you. One of the things I love to do on a call like this is to encourage you to switch your view. If you're looking right now at the speaker view, which would have Jessica and me spotlit, if you switch over to the gallery view, then you can see the amazing support taking up 2 screens of all the people who have gathered today. Many of you do have your cameras off, but several of you have your cameras on. And this is just such amazing momentum to see all of these faces, all the people who are supporting this message in the world, which is really super powerful. Did you do that, Jessica?
Amazing. Thanks, everybody. Love seeing all your faces. Long time, Bobby, Michael. Oh my gosh. So many decades of friendship and support. Thank you.
Amazing.
Bobby may be raising your hand, although
okay, I did not see that. Bobby, feel free to unmute.
Or type.
Oh, you'll have to unmute if you'd like to speak, Bobby. I found you. I'm asking you to unmute.
Thank you. I have a question. We've worked together a long time and traveled around the world together. And I'm curious, did you see any difference in how women versus men apply and achieve from your game loop?
Yes. Well, Bobby, I want to give you a shout out for your book too on women in entrepreneurship. You want to just give the name and where people can find it?
Sure, it's on Amazon. It's Innovate Hers, and I'll put it in the chat. And we are on Amazon, and we just came out with our Spanish version.
Amazing. Congrats. So those of you who have read the book will learn, and my parents can attest to this. They were upside down before, but now they're right side up. Mom and Dad, excited to see you. But you guys will learn in the book that I was really into gaming. And then all of a sudden, I kind of went through that traditional, like, young girl hitting puberty where it wasn't cool. And I sort of like jumped out of it and found my way back into it years later. Frankly, again, only because I just saw such incredible learning and job opportunity outcomes out of it. That was like the real reason why I ended up there. And so one of my hopes that I didn't mention when Becky asked the question is that more and more young women see themselves as gamers. The data shows that they do, that it is pretty split now, gender-wise, but they still don't identify with it. And I get really nervous about how much time young women are spending on social media versus gaming because we don't see the learning impact there as much. And so a long way of saying, Bobby, to answer your question, it is, although the data shows it's pretty equal, the identity is very different in how people are identifying themselves and identifying the skills that they've learned from it, and then really having agency and empowerment around it.
Thanks. We'll catch up soon.
Great to see you.
I'm going to call on Laura Palmer next.
Jessica, congratulations. I don't know where you find the time. I don't know how you do it. So I'm like in total awe. I have not read the book yet, but I will. And I will be buying it for my son, who's 23 and has it's his second job already. He graduated 2 years ago. So he's definitely feeling this. I'm not working right now, so I'm definitely excited to read about this journey. Have you thought about doing a podcast? That's my first question, because I think in addition to I know what's going to happen. I'm going to read all these interviews and all the things that you've put in the book and want more. And then the second piece is what was something maybe you went into the book thinking was true, and as you went through the process of writing it realized was not true? Some surprise that you had.
Oh, that's such a great question. Yeah, there were so many. So I think okay, I know how to answer that one. Let me answer that one first. So we started writing this book about 2 years ago, really deliberately. We had all this research, all this third party and primary research, hundreds and hundreds of sources. And as we started writing it, I had a hypothesis, because this is the same time when ChatGPT sort of exploded, that we could just write it with AI. I was like, we can just feed all this research in and we can, set the tone. And oh my God, is that wrong? Like, I am a firm believer that the voice, the human voice, and the human emotive connection cannot be replicated. And maybe I'll be eating my words 5 or 10 years from now. But we just had an incredible narrative lead who kind of worked with us and guided us through the process. And I hope those of you who have read it will agree that it really does read like a story. You're not kind of getting like strategy facts and practical advice only. Like you're really on this kind of compelling journey. And I say that humbly because I just learned so much from the process and the work around it. And then to answer your other question, on doing a podcast, we ended up doing a YouTube video series. It's at Career Game Loop on YouTube, which is where everyone's going now to do podcasts, as you do it on you basically publish on YouTube so you can get video and podcast as well. But I just think the market is way, way, way too saturated, just like social is. It's like really hard to get the voice out there and to get it to the right market. Alyssa and team can correct me. They've taught me a lot on this over the last 6 months. So I'm not totally sure how it'll keep evolving. My greatest hope is that we just get a really strong community that we can just keep engaging with person by person, because at least that's where I feel like we're getting the greatest impact and engagement is on the community side.
Thanks, Jessica. Congratulations again.
Thanks. Great to see you.
I have a question that came in earlier in the chat from Ian. Ian, thank you for your patience as I wanted to get a chance to ask this question. So Ian says, Jessica, you make a point in the intro of saying that you're not gamifying careers, but it seems you are game loopifying careers or something. I'm a big fan of the McGonagall mindset and gamify everything approach. It's on a post-it note in front of me right now. Can you elaborate on your remark a bit and the distinction you make?
Yeah, I mean, maybe Ian, you want to come off of mute and like brainstorm with me on this one because, part again, before we wrote this book, I was like, maybe we should just call Jane McGonigal and have her write this book. Those of you who don't know her, her work is incredible, around just this gamer mindset applied to all these other areas of life. And so the gamify feels really close to gamification for me, which makes me nervous. In that I'll hand it to you in a second, Ian, because I love your brainstorming on this. But I think of gamification as all the leaderboards and the point systems that surround a deeply engaging game. And then people take it to other industries and they just do the leaderboard and the point system, but they forget about the deep engagement at the center. So then there's no intrinsic motivation or authenticity in the engagement. And so our hope was we were really focusing on how you can make your career actually as engaging as a game. So I'll hand it to you. What are your thoughts?
Well, thanks for the mic, Jessica. First off, when I read about your book, I'm kind of not your target demographic. You've talked about parents here. I'm in my 50s. I've been a quant on Wall Street for my whole life. Like I'm one of those guys. I went to college and I went through, but I've always had Unity as a hobby, and I've taken away from Jane McGonigal's book, which I did hold up briefly there, this gamify everything kind of mindset. And I think I can understand that you're sort of distancing, not well, distancing is the wrong word, but you're adjacent to that kind of mindset, but you're not telling people to gamify their individual jobs. You're taking a much higher level view, and you're basically saying, on a 4 or 8 year cycle, you're going through this process where you're sort of applying your gaming skills to life, right? And I think that's great. I'm only about a third of the way through the book, but just to add a bit of color from my side, I went through a period probably 10 years ago where although I've changed companies, I'm very kind of hardcore programmer, developer, and the idea of gamifying everything to me was very empowering. Like I write a lot of very boring code, and if I can take data loaders, all of that stuff that I have to do and gamify that, it empowers me on a very small scale. So your book actually is refreshing in the sense that it kind of expands that and it takes a step right back to a very high level view. Um, I think both these books should be on everyone's bookshelf. I'm really enjoying the book so far. I'm sorry, so's my dog, as you can tell in the background. Homer. Um, but yeah, thanks for the book, and I really appreciate sending it out. I think a lot of people will kind of see this as I see it, which is somehow some kind of successor to reading the McGonagall book, because there is so much overlap. There in my mind, I'm not looking to restart my career, right? And a lot of people, we have kids. I have two kids who are in college. One is through college, so I'm going to try to apply this to them and draw some parallels, maybe put some material out of the book and talk to them about it, and possibly even buy another copy just to boost sales. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Ian. Where are you calling in from?
I live in Princeton, actually. I'm originally from England, but I came out here in '98, so I live in Princeton, New Jersey. It's beautiful
Awesome.
here. Yeah,
Thanks again.
thanks.
Thank you, Ian. What an amazing discussion. And one thing that Ian said reminded me, Jessica, I wonder, like, one of the unique things about the way that we're launching this book is that distribution of books that you did. I'm wondering if you would feel comfortable sharing a little bit about who got the book and why, and what we hope the book will do as we're distributing so many early copies.
Yeah, absolutely. So just by way of background, Wiley Publishing came to me personally asking if I wanted to write this book on the importance of learning and earning or learning throughout your career. And I just felt like that was 1% of what we had learned over this work over the last decade. So we actually decided to give the IP to Unity because we wanted to be able to work with all of these people who grew up gaming who were teaching us all of these lessons in more of a collective way. And as a gift, Unity purchased thousands of these books that we were able to provide to our emerging and early creators around the world, frankly. And I think the insights and the early insights that we're getting from this is that it is really deeply resonating, and that they are like, this is actually what I feel, but I've had a hard time putting this into practical application. So it primarily went to, again, kind of high school, alternative pathway, community college, university types of programs, people from all different backgrounds.
Amazing. So I noticed, Anton, that you're off mute. Would you like to speak?
Oh, he's not off mute.
No?
No,
Okay.
I'm off mute now. Can you hear me? Yes. Sorry about the noise behind me. I wanted to answer Laura's question. For those who don't know, I am a very proud and somewhat emotional husband of Jessica. And Laura, I have seen firsthand the creation of this book, and I also don't know how she has the time. It's unbelievable. It's one of Jessica's many, many, many superpowers. And I just want to say that I'm so grateful, Jess, that you got the book done in time for our boys. We have two boys who are roughly 13 and 16, in time for them to sort of navigate their career. And so happy that we have such an incredible guide for them, both your book and you. So thank you and congratulations.
Thanks, love. Thank you. Anton has actually been my greatest sales agent. He's booked more pre-sales orders than bulk orders. Interestingly, Ian, in the world of finance. So there is something around the bulk purchase of financial institutions kind of going through this disruption right now that we're seeing.
So I'm seeing a question in the chat from Bobby. One of the threads we have always followed is, will the interactive book provide evaluation of the user to see what the impact is and what the readers do? And then there's another question after that one that I'll get to. Thank you, Michael.
I don't know if I get the question. Bobby, are you able to come off of mute and maybe give a little more
So I'm
context?
just curious, one of the conundrums of any gaming is that, and you all, and I use your phrase all the time, called existential ads. We would play the game and then they'd get out of the game and they'd evaluate whether or not they had learned anything. So we'd give them some questions and then they'd go back to the game. And with AI now, it's much easier to build games where you get learnings and objectives and know what the reader or the user is doing. I'm curious if you built any of that into your career loop as you wrote the book and as you built the interactive, whether there'd be this gathering of impact.
Yeah, so again, those of you who don't know what I did before Unity, I was super lucky to run a organization called Glass Lab, which was games, learning, and assessments. It took video games that young people were playing already and looked at all the data and evidence from the gameplay, not something added on, and worked with companies like Stanford Research Institute and Pearson and ETS to validate that these games were actually really improving learning in and of themselves. And most exciting, they were improving skills that are the very skills that we use in careers today that are most in demand, like problem solving, communication, collaboration. And so I think, Bobby, we do touch on that in the book. And we do a lot of not just what makes great games for your careers and why, but we actually profile some of the key game designers and their careers, because they've really brought to life their own struggles and journeys and how they've redefined their careers and in some ways almost embedded them in the game design to bring that more to life. So my hope is that as games and learning games go down in cost as a result of AI and the ability to create engaging graphics and to code more quickly, that we can finally open up the aperture of more creators making highly impactful games in and of themselves and not the add-ons around them.
Thank you. So Michael says he's late to the conversation. And then he said, one thing I imagine Jessica has thought about extensively and discussed in the book is the importance of intrinsic motivation. Games use lots of extrinsic rewards, of course, but gamers often are motivated to play because well-designed games are inherently fun and satisfying. How do game-inspired approaches here apply to the career journey?
So Michael does not need to come off of mute, but he knows this better than anybody, I think, at Sesame Street, is what he leads the Joan Gans community, or Joan Gans Foundation with Sesame Street. So I think the key here, you can keep eating your salad, Michael. Good to see you. Thanks so much. I think the key here is just how hard it is. I don't want to brush over just the brilliance. We wrote this book really looking at players, but the incredible challenge embedding fun, like this basic three-letter word of fun into a game and what game designers do, and how difficult that can be to perfectly design it. And we actually have that analogy at the end of the book for managers and leaders, which any of you who are managing and leading know it's an incredibly challenging time right now to build a great culture in an organization. So we almost kind of try and have an analogy to you're a game designer in your company, in your organization, in your school, and think deeply about how you're designing these motivations and rewards and incentives and that very elusive fun at the center of how your culture is built and continues to extend.
Great.
These are great questions.
Thank you so
Wow.
much. Yeah, really amazing questions. Ian is saying, Wow, this is so fast. I can't go fast enough. It would be fun to inject the text of the book into a large language model or even Unity Muse, a high-level mentor alongside all the granular stuff.
That's already done. We actually took the text. Those of you who got the supplemental materials, if you didn't, please go to careergameloop.com right now and just put in your email address. But we did create a virtual coach by creating our own GPT that you can use. So would love everybody to play with that and give us feedback too.
How do people access the GPT, Jessica?
We can put it in the chat here. I can do that in parallel, or you can go to careergameloop.com and just access all the supplemental materials, which I want everybody to do because we've got an incredible workbook that you can use personally. That's about 50 pages long, a coaching guide if you're a mentor or an educator and you're working with people that you want to support, and then a community guide if people want to go through the book and read the book together.
Amazing. So I see a long question and comment from Ben. Ben, if you would rather speak this out, please feel free to come off of mute or unmute and you can speak it out. I'll do my best to read the question. So I just started the book and I'm very much the target demographic as I've been working in tech for 10 years or so, but want to make a shift to working on the narrative side of game dev. My question is, what advice do you have around sacrificing that steady paycheck for a more uncertain and unpredictable path going into a new career, especially one as tumultuous as game dev?
Yeah, so the book was not written just for game devs, but we obviously have a lot of experience in this and a lot of perspective on it. Our hope is that you keep that steady paying job as you read this book and really go through the work and the practice to, validate that this is the career that you want to take. One of the key things that I think is critical in just defining this quest, and we have that sort of Ikagi model, but in a more gaming type of way around aligning your passion, your skill, your personal mission, and how you want to shape the world. And then one thing that's not included in this is this concept of sustainability, which is really around, is this a job that is going to be in demand for the next 5 years? Can you get some data and insights into the demand for this? Because what you always want in the job that you're choosing and the direction your career is going is pull. And really having that pull and that demand, I think is a really important gravitational influence in how you decide what it is that you want to do. So happy to take more of that offline, Ben, and chat more about what we can support you on wearing the Unity hat.
Thank you. So we're coming close to the end of our time together, and in a few moments, Jessica is going to read to us a segment from the book, which I'm really looking forward to hearing her read it in her own voice. But we do want to remind you of the ways that you can help fuel the momentum for the Career Game Loop. The most important way is to buy a copy of the book today, even if you already have one, and then you can gift the copy that you have to someone else, a family member, a friend, or a colleague who can benefit from the content. For those of you who have already read the book or who have begun to read the book, your Amazon and Goodreads review is exceedingly important in helping to build the credibility of the book and helping other readers to discover the book. Finally, we would love your support in sharing this book with audiences around the world, and we've made that easy for you by creating those ready-to-use assets that you'll find in the chat. Also, I want to encourage you to go to careergameloop.com to download all the free resources that Jessica mentioned, the workbook, the coaching guide, the community guide, and also we recently put a link in the chat to the virtual GPT coach that Jessica created. So we would love your support in all of those ways to help share the Career Game Loop book with others. And Jessica, it's back to you to read to us.
All right, thanks so much. The title of the section I'm going to read is called Looping Back to Community. Mentoring, coaching, sponsorship, leadership, ultimately it's our communities that will determine what each of us achieves. Without the help of our peers and our elders, our friends and our family, work acquaintances and weak ties and total strangers, none of us will get anywhere at all. Life is, as it always has been, a multiplayer game. We need our guilds and our clans to help guide us. Our communities help us see our own values and make strong choices. They help us stay accountable and level up. They open doors and sing our praises. And when the time comes, they wave us goodbye and send us off on our next great adventures.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. It was incredible to see all of your faces from so many eras.